I am an actuary.
I am an actuary.
I am an actuary.
Welcome to the We Are Actuaries podcast, where you'll meet leaders who use their actuarial powers to solve a range of problems and make a real difference. I am your host, Julia Lessing, and I'm a qualified actuary based in Australia. I help actuaries develop communication and leadership skills to build great actuarial careers. So settle in, learn from the best, and be inspired. What if you could fire your boss, set your own rates, and choose the projects you actually want to work on? For many actuaries, independent consulting sounds like a pipe dream, but it doesn't have to be. Joining us today is Syed Raza, an independent actuarial consultant and entrepreneur who's done exactly that. With over 15 years of experience in life insurance and annuities, Syed made the leap from traditional actuarial roles to building his own consulting business, where he now advises insurers, consultancies, and startups on a whole range of actuarial consulting work. He's also the creator of MyActuary Weekly, a popular newsletter and platform that helps actuaries think beyond the technical and take ownership of their careers. So whether you're considering going independent or just curious about what's possible outside the actuarial traditional career path, this conversation is for you. Syed, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on and happy to be here.
Syed, it's so cool to be having this conversation from opposite sides of the world because I'm in Sydney, Australia, but you're in New York City. Is that right?
That's right. I'm in Long Island, New York.
Long Island, New York. Fantastic. And I'm talking to you from the future because it's Tuesday morning here and it's Monday afternoon there. So
That's right. That's correct.
Syed, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you because, we are both business owners and entrepreneurs. And just before we started recording, we were having a very lengthy conversation comparing notes about what it's like to be actuaries who have their independent consulting businesses. And I'm really excited to dig into some of your lessons and your journey today. I think it will be really helpful for our viewers. So before we get started though, Syed, how do you use your actuarial superpowers to make a difference in the world?
That's a great question, Julia. So I would say there are three layers of impact that I have to answer a question on using my superpowers. One is being an actuary and doing the actuarial work. Obviously, we try to protect the policyholders by calculating premiums such that the insurance companies do not go bankrupt. They don't default on their obligations because, as you know, a lot of these businesses are very long-term business. So in case of life and annuity, for example, these are 20-year policies, sometimes whole life policies. So regulators want to make sure that these insurance companies will be there solvent 30 years from now, 50 years from now. So actuaries are really playing a part in calculating the premium such that it's not too high that they lose the business to another insurance company, and it's not too low that they go bankrupt. So that's one thing. The second layer of impact, to answer your question again on my superpowers, is my independence. So I am an independent consulting actuary. I went independent about 5 years ago. And that's something that I just enjoy a lot. It gives me a lot of flexibility. Sometimes when I go to these clients, they they have someone who just left the company and they really need help. They have tight timelines, they have tight deadlines, regulatory deadlines, pricing deadlines. So that's something that I help as well. So that was the second layer of impact. And the third layer of impact is basically AI. I am fascinated by AI and I am very active on LinkedIn. I have a newsletter that goes weekly to thousands of actuaries, and I try to give value, make it interesting so that people learn something. So those are the three ways I use my actuarial superpowers.
Three ways to use your superpowers. Such topical applications of your superpowers in 2026, where everything seems like it's moving so fast, things are changing rapidly, but to be able to make those long-term predictions, that use those actuarial skills to really protect companies and do the right calculations to help companies sustain into the future so that they can meet their obligations. and also considering the impacts of AI as well. I think, yeah, what an interesting combination and application of your superpowers, Syed.
Thank you. Thank you.
So lots of actuaries dream about building a business, an independent business, but they never actually do it. I wonder, Syed, was there a specific moment or realization in your career that pushed you to seriously consider going independent rather than staying on the actuarial traditional career path that you were on?
That's again an excellent question, Julia. So I have about total 16 years of experience as an actuary. About 5 years ago, I had this realization that, I am already a consultant. So I was with Ernst and Young, which is one of the big four accounting firms, for 4 years. So I was already a consultant. So I already had that experience. I already had that relationships. I already had those network and contacts in the industry.
Mm.
And I was already working from home even before COVID because as a consultant at a big four company, your team is in one city, your client is in another city, and you are in another city. So why would you go to the office, right?
Yep.
So I was already traveling to the clients, traveling to meet the other team members in other cities. So I was already kind of remote, right? So I thought that I want to leverage this network. I want to leverage this experience that I've built over 4 years at EY and many years before that.
Mm.
The second thing, Julia, I would say is that what prompted me to take this path is it's basically building my personal brand. Because to be very honest with you, no matter how hard I worked, no matter what I did, my income was still capped.
Mm.
My sort of like results were still capped. So going independent allowed me to basically cut the middleman, go cut the chase, go directly to the clients and make an impact. And really like I've had 12 clients since last 5 years,
Mhm.
usually one client at a time. I go in there, I work closely with the team, I collaborate closely. They are super helpful that they have an expert needed.
Mm.
I always jokingly say that you don't really learn a lot sometimes as an independent consultant because companies they expect you to have already learned that. They
Mm.
expect you to be an expert on that already.
Mm.
I'm actually very lucky when I learn something on the project. I'm actually looking for projects where I can learn something because that just gives you the edge, right? That
Mm.
allows you to push your boundaries and go out of the comfort zone and learn something. So
Mm.
those were really the things that prompted me to answer your question on why I took this path.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So we have some parallels there because I also started my career as a
Yeah.
consulting actuary at
Yeah.
EY, and then left EY to build my consulting
Mhm.
business. And like you, I think brought so many of those practical consulting skills to starting a business. I think there's such an asset to be able to know how to consult, to how to set up an engagement, to how to how to help a client, how to have those dealings and to sort of close the project. So what was the what was the biggest learning from you for you? I think it is different though. There's parallels, right,
Yeah.
between working for
Right.
a big four consultant compared to working for yourself, having an
Yep.
independent consulting business. And you're right, the income can be much more variable.
Yeah.
It's capped if you're an employee, whereas when you're running your own business, like what was one of the interesting things? What was one of the maybe unexpected things when you made that sort of transition? Was there something new that you had to learn to be able to run a consulting business independently, like having had that consulting background?
Right. Yeah, so the biggest thing that I had to learn or a challenge was I had to do my own marketing. I had to
Mm,
line up my projects on my own.
mm,
You are working on a great project for 4 months, 6 months, 9 months,
yeah.
but it will end and you gotta keep
Mm,
talking to people, keep networking.
mm,
So just building that pipeline, building that funnel
mm,
was a challenge. Although, Julia, I would say, you know, a lot of actuaries are sometimes afraid of taking risks
mm,
because probably they study about risks so much, the downside risk, But I would say that, Julia, we are perfectly suitable to take risks because we
Mm,
understand risks, right? We
mm,
understand the downside risks. So, for example, I knew that in case this does not work out, I can always go back and work as a full-time permanent actuary in a company, right? I
mm.
was already a qualified actuary. I had confidence in myself. I already had years of experience working at insurance companies and consulting firms. So I was like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, I'll just go back. Those doors are not closing,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, so to answer your question, the biggest challenge was just lining up projects. And if you are interested, I can maybe quickly share for the audience some ways I tackle that challenge, right? So there are three ways I get my clients. One is direct relationships that I built 4 years at EY and then many years before that.
Mm-hmm.
Ex-clients, ex-colleagues, different people working in different companies that I know. So that was the majority. But then the second thing that helped was recruiters. Now, these are not your typical traditional permanent full-time recruiters. These are some specialized recruiters. There are quite a few in the US. There are quite a few in the UK, actually.
Mm-hmm.
In Europe, it's actually much more common, independent consulting. And I'm sure there would be in Australia as well. But the point is that they kind of kept me busy. They kept sending projects to me, and that kind of just filled that gap as well. And the third thing, Julia, is and to conclude here, that I'm trying to build is a community of other independent actuaries like myself. So, for example, you are an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, right? I mean, there are many other actuaries like us. There are many other people
Yeah.
like us.
Yeah.
There is no reason why we cannot benefit each other, right?
Mm.
So say I'm a consultant, I get a project and I'm busy. I can refer it to another independent consultant. And tomorrow they can do the same for me.
Mm.
It's a small world, it's small professions. I see no reason why we cannot help each other
Yep.
and everyone thrives.
Yeah. No, I really like that. I think looking back on my almost 11 years of running Guardian Actuarial, that certainly is how my business model quickly evolved. To start with, I thought, oh, I have to build a team just like I had at EY. I have to build a team, a pyramid, and I have to have analysts on the bench. And then I realized, no, that's not actually how this is going to work in this new environment. And one of the things that I found challenging in running an independent business was I didn't have all of that senior support and peers that you have when you're working for a big consulting firm. So creating that through that network that you just described, I also found that was a really helpful way. It wasn't just good business sense, it was also just made the whole journey more enjoyable. Helps you smooth out
Exactly.
some of the bumps and yeah, but also gives you, other people to talk to who get what it's like.
That's totally right. Yeah. And then I
Mm,
will also say, like, sometimes when you have enough clients, when you have enough success stories, right?
mm,
I'll share this story with you. A lot of times, clients have come back to me, right? So
mm,
out of those 12 clients, sometimes clients say that, hey, we had an important person in the team leave the company. Can you help us for the next 4 months? So
mm.
that kind of becomes a recurring business as well, right? Right. So I always thought that let me work really hard, take these projects to the finish line, prove myself to the clients for the first 4 or 5 years, and it's been 5 years, and so far so good. And then clients are kind of coming back. So
Mm.
things do get easier, believe or not,
Yeah.
as you proceed further. So
Yeah, yeah. You build that momentum, you build that personal brand, as you said as
yeah,
well. And
right.
and people know what you can do and trust what you can deliver. Yeah, so building that pipeline can be quite challenging. Even though you've got the potential to make more money running your own business, you also have to make sure that you're kind of hunting for the next the next project while you're also delivering the current one. Shortly after I started Guardian Actuarial, I remember my chiropractor said to me, running your own business breaks you for working for someone else. And I think what she meant was that you kind of get used to the autonomy and the being able to run your own show and pick and choose your projects as you go. But, as we've just talked about, there's also lots of challenges that come alongside that. But I think that whether it breaks you or not, I think it changes you and the way you look at your career, the way you think about work. So I'm curious, Syed, how's running an independent consulting business changed the way you think about your career risk and what success looks like as an actuary?
We'll be right back.
Julia Lessing's new book, Senior Leadership, An Essential Guide for Actuaries, covers advanced managerial strategies designed for more experienced leaders. It builds on the foundation of Julia's first book, Aspiring Actuarial Leaders. Together, these two books offer actuaries a complete leadership development pathway. The strength of this new guide lies in its practical strategies that actuarial leaders can implement to improve teamwork and organizational effectiveness. We're thrilled to collaborate with Julia again. She's an inspiration to actuaries everywhere.
Oh my God, Julia, you are so true that it just changes you as a person, right? Like, I probably should not say this, but I don't see myself going into, because I've just gotten so much used to the independence and the freedom, that just going back to, again, nothing wrong with, sort of working as a full-time permanent person actually at a company. But to answer your question, the biggest change for me was the concept of leverage, right? So as a one-person company, and again, I am a one-person consulting company. I'm not a traditional consulting firm that have tens or hundreds of people. The idea that I discovered, Julia, was scaling and leverage. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, as I told you. Sometimes I put one LinkedIn post, and sometimes it reaches tens of thousands of people, right? One article, so we have this newsletter, one article can go viral, and it can go to thousands of people at a time, and it can really sort of create that leverage. Labor is the old leverage because it's not easy to hire people, find people, train them, manage them, God forbid, let them go if you don't have work. It's messy. It's hard. It's difficult, right? It's not everyone's sort of like piece of the puzzle. So the new leverage is media. So this podcast is media. The newsletter, the LinkedIn, that's media. It has the potential to go to a very wide audience, and can create an impact. So that concept really resonated with me. The other thing, Julia, I would say is the power of software, because software is also leverage. So for example, Facebook, it was one piece of code and it goes to now, I would say, more than 1 billion people, right, in the world. So that's just one piece of software, and the marginal cost is almost zero to replicate that, and it's just very powerful. So I want to leverage, I want to scale, not through labor, but through media and code, media and software. So that was the biggest mindset shift that I had after going independent.
So interesting, because I wonder whether you would have had that shift if you'd stayed working as a big four consultant. It's
It's very difficult. The reason is because there's a lot of hierarchy. There's a lot of compliance issues. So if I want to put one post or one article, one piece of content out there, unfortunately, it has to go through layers and layers of compliance and areas. To be honest with you, Julia, I was a little afraid to even voice my sort of like opinions, because I was thinking, okay, what would others think, and what would my manager think, and could this create any issues and like anything like that. I just feel much more relieved. It did take some effort, as you can also kind of imagine, for the first few posts, like for the first few contents, LinkedIn, newsletter, etc. But then slowly I kind of discovered my voice, and it did take trial and error to
Mm.
see what's resonating with people, what are they engaging on, what are they responding back on. And it's been a few years now that I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and people are really meeting with me in conferences. They are coming over and they're saying, "Hey, Syed, whenever we think of an entrepreneur actuary, we kind of think your name," and that just makes me feel very happy
Mm.
because that was an impact that I feel like I'm starting to create
Mm.
for my audience, for the network. That was kind of difficult to answer a question um, at a Big Four company.
Yeah, yeah. Because at a Big Four company, or for working for any organization as an employee, you are limited by the policies of that organization. Those big organizations need to have those policies to make sure their staff aren't just going out and, saying whatever they want to say. I
Yeah.
remember early in my career, a newspaper wanted to talk to me. I've got 4 kids, they're grown now, but at the time they were small. I just come back from parental leave, and one of the newspapers wanted to talk to me about my recent promotion and how my organization was, supporting working mums and that kind of
Right.
thing. It was all really positive. Anyway, I got into a whole lot of hot water around it, and media got upset about it. The partners got upset about it and stuff. And in the end, it was all good publicity. But it was one of those situations where I thought, oh my gosh, there's just so much red tape to be able to do those things. Whereas, when we're working for ourselves, when we're independent consultants, we do have that freedom to to speak out and to share on topics that are important to us, things we think need to share without having to go through all those
100%. I'll
layers.
share this story with you, Julia. I will not name the company, but someone from ABC company wrote an article in our newsletter as a guest
Mhm.
author.
Right.
We mostly don't have guest authors. We like to kind of have a strong say in the content, and because the quality is very important for us.
Mhm.
So this person wrote an article for us, right? And then the next day they reached out and they said, "Sayed, can you take out the article? Can you take off the article? Because
Oh.
I they got into trouble with the company and with the manager." And it just
Wow.
speaks of what you're saying,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like they sent me like 12 emails the next few minutes and said, "Can you take the post?" So we ended up
Oh,
taking off the post. So
yeah.
that just speaks volumes for like how sometimes difficult it can become to do certain things.
Mm. Mm.
I'll share another story with you, and this one is a kind of a funny story. So when in the 1990s, right, when internet came, um, I was only 9 year old, and today you hear about these websites like Google or Yahoo or
Mm.
Hotmail, and I wish I was part of that era that I could have kind of created some website that got very popular today. But I cannot blame myself because I was too young for that. And then the next boom that came was the smartphone era, right?
Mm.
2006, 7. And today, Julia, you hear about these apps, very popular apps. Billions of people are using it. I wish I was old enough for that because I was 19 years old and I
Mm.
was still taking my first actuarial exam at that time. I kind of missed out on that era as well. And then the other era came was, the cryptocurrency era or the cloud era. Again, I cannot blame myself to miss out on that because that was kind of enterprise focused, right? That cloud was mostly enterprise focused. But in 2020, late 2022, 2023, I saw ChatGPT. And that just completely shifted my narrative. I promised myself I better not miss out this boom, right? So I partnered up with this person, a freelancer offshore. Believe it or not, you can get really cheap or cost-effective talent offshore. There's amazing talent offshore. Um, I created this AI tool, put it out there. It's kind of you can think of as a chat GPT for actuaries, right? And thousands of actuaries kind of used it, downloaded it. We ended up sunsetting that recently because Julia, ChatGPT is just getting so good that
Yeah.
it's just hard to
Mm.
hard to compete with it, right?
Mm.
But AI is my fascination. I love to write about it. I love to use it. I love to educate people about it
Yeah.
as much as possible so that we don't miss out as collectively as this generation of actuaries don't miss out on this wave or boom.
Yeah. Yeah. So now the time's right for you now, Syed. This is your era, the AI era, and this is your opportunity. You're now old enough to make the most of this.
I hope so. I'll try to play a little part. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to following your content, continuing to follow your content on AI
Thank
and everything else independent consulting. Syed, it's been so good talking to you today and hearing a bit about your journey, some of the challenges of moving into being an independent consultant. I love that you highlighted the idea that it feels like a risk, but really we're actuaries. We could go back to being actuaries if the independent consulting thing didn't work out. So it's maybe not as big a risk as some of us might think. But it was interesting hearing some of your stories, and certainly for me personally, hearing some of our parallels in our journeys through from being actuarial consultants for big companies to independent consultants as well. So I want to finish the interview, Syed, with one question, and it's this. What's one tip that you'd have for actuaries considering starting an independent consulting business?
That's an excellent question. So I would say two things. One is start building your network as soon as possible. Don't wait for it. Because if this is something that's your ambition, maybe in the future, it took me years of planning. Like it was not an easy decision for me. I was married, I had kids, and I had to pay my bills. And it was a scary thought. Hey, I might have one project, but what will happen next, right? So really, there was a partner at EY at that time when I was working with EY, and he told me, Syed, I see you working very hard and you might not be reaping all the benefits, but trust me, you'll thank yourself for years to come. He said actually for decades to come, but he said like all this hard work that you are doing, all this network you are building, clients that you are visiting, this will pay you off. And he was completely right. Start building a network as soon as possible. Sort of like reach out to people on LinkedIn, in conferences, say hi, ask questions, be genuine. So that's one thing that I would say. Second, be really good at one or two things. So as an independent consultant, you need to be 10 out of 10 on one thing. One is good, two is great. And then you can be okay at many other things. You can be average at many other things. So for me, that one thing is modeling. So actuarial model conversions, moving from old legacy systems to new systems, new actuarial software. That's my main expertise, where I am, I hope, 10 out of 10. My second thing that really helped me, as I said, one is good, two is great, was valuation. So reserving. So I do periodically support appointed actuaries for financial reporting, audit work. And that was just like a good filler work for me. Like if I'm not modeling, I'm kind of helping valuation actuaries, appointed actuaries. And then I'm okay at some other things, such as reinsurance, such as data, such as pricing, such as fill in the blanks. It could be many things, right? So that's what I would suggest actuaries to develop is one or two things. Be really, really, really good at it. Because you can make that as your foundation to get work, to get projects. Because then when you are interviewing for that project, it will be very hard for someone to compete with you because you are so good at it. So those are the two pieces of advice I would say. One is build the network as soon as possible. And second is be really good at one or two things.
That's such great advice. You don't need to be excellent at everything, but you do need to be excellent at a couple of things, and also to build that network around you to bring it all to life. Syed, it's been wonderful having this conversation. I look forward to our continued conversations because I've really enjoyed this so much. But thank you for sharing your stories and lessons and tips with our listeners today. I think anyone that's thinking about starting their own independent consulting business will get a lot out of this conversation. So thanks for your time, Syed.
Absolutely. Thanks, Julia. Appreciate it.
So there you have it, real life stories and practical tips from a leader using their actuarial superpowers to make a difference in the world. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to get in touch, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your network. You'll find details from today's interview in the show notes below and on our website www.guardianactuarial.com.au. Until next time.
It's exciting to see Julia releasing 2 books in 2025. Her latest title, Senior Leadership, An Essential Guide for Actuaries, is designed for seasoned leaders who are further along in their careers. It builds on the foundation of her first book, Aspiring Actuarial Leaders, The Modern Manager's Toolkit, which supports new and emerging managers. Together, these 2 books now offer actuaries a complete leadership development pathway. As with Julia's first book, the strength of this new guide lies in its practical strategies, tools actuaries can apply to their work right away. It helps leaders feel more confident, grounded, and better prepared for the challenges they face. What sets Julia's approach and this book apart is how they weave together stories and experiences from a wide range of actuarial professionals. Senior Leadership, an essential guide for actuaries, equips leaders with tools to foster workplaces where teams can perform at their highest potential. We're thrilled to collaborate with Julia again. She's not only a joy to work with, but also an inspiration to actuaries everywhere.